Put your hands to my hands, put your knees to my knees, put your eyes to my eyes. Come on, baby, don't look at me, 'cause I don't think that we should ever feel the need to worry, ever get ourselves in a hurry. I know I love you, I know you love me, this time will go. It is Friday evening. I am cooking Mexican tonight. Mexican is a staple in this household. I think we eat Mexican probably 2-3 times a week. It's so easy and quick and healthy, and put lots of beans in there, so there's a decent amount of protein as well. And it's just yummy. You can never go wrong with Mexican. And yeah, I had a productive work week. Today was newsletter day. Usually towards the end of the month, I send out a newsletter. So that was today. And that usually takes me the whole day. Newsletter is a lot of work. How I go about it is I will usually take notes throughout the month of stuff that I want to include. And it's always a nice way to finish off the day, finish off the month and look back on what I've actually done, what I've achieved. So it's a nice reset. That's why I like writing towards the end of the month. But yeah, it does take me all day, because I also release it in both English and in German. So yeah, that was my whole day, and I have decided that I will take you along on a night writing session. So I have a little bit of, let's call it positive anxiety, because I have not been writing much this week. Or like, I did a lot of writing. I got a lot of words down, especially for stuff like the newsletter and a Substack article, research article and stuff like that. But I haven't been working on the witchy story. And so whenever I don't write for quite some time, I get that anxiety and I know I need to plug into the story again. I'm just looking for something to cook with here. Hang on. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. It does take a while to warm up the muscle, and once it's gone cold, it just doesn't feel great. I don't quite know why. I can't tell you why. So I'm going to take you along on a night writing session. It's, I think, 7:30 now. I'm going to cook up some dinner for Frank and me, and then I'm going to go back in. When I'm deep in the book, that's when I usually write in the evenings, because I need that focus, that calm focus that you only come across at night in the dark. There's something about witching hour that works really well. And so I think that'll do me good. That'll do me good today if I just sit there, light a couple of candles, and get some words on the blank page. But first, dinner. So Frank doesn't cook. He knows how to cook, but he doesn't enjoy it. So I'm the chef in the household, and he does the dishes and the cleaning up after. So I don't have to feel guilty for leaving this an absolute mess for him, because that's the deal. So I would love to tell you that Frank and I sit down for a lovely romantic dinner at the table on a Friday evening, but the truth is most nights we have dinner watching TV and just settling in on the couch. We're watching a lot of news these days. I don't know if you're the same, but with everything that's going on in the world, you kind of have to, although you probably shouldn't. But yeah, dinner is done now, and I've settled in for the night. The window is still open, so we might hear my resident possum. We have a possum family, actually, a whole family that lives in the roof. Okay, I still have the newsletter open, so I'm just gonna close all this. Might hear Frank outside as well, busy cleaning the kitchen. Right. So if this is the first video you're watching, I'm a fantasy author. I write witchy magical fiction, and tonight I'll be working on book 1 in my upcoming witchy trilogy, the Pyre Song series, and the first book in this series is called The Flames That Forged Us. I have completed several drafts of the story, and now I'm preparing the story for my editor, Kristen. So I've written myself a revisions letter, and what that is it's a letter that I wrote to myself with all the changes that I would like to make, big, medium, and small things that I need to get done. And I think today I really need to start with something small. I need something tangible. I need to feel good about it. It's a very good idea to mix things, not just when you're editing a novel, but also in life. Don't do all the hard stuff all the time. Sometimes, you need to think about how you're feeling, and sometimes it's just better to do something small and then feel good about it after. You can always find something to fix. There's always something to improve or to play around with, and then you feel good about having done something when in fact you haven't. I recently finished reading Circe by Madeline Miller, and one thing that really impressed me about Miller's writing is how compact it is and how economically she writes. There's not a single word in her prose that doesn't need to be there. So it feels very concise, and it feels very raw, almost raw is the word I'm thinking of. And I noticed that her prose is still very fresh on my mind, and I can now go into my prose and I can improve it. And I can really see now how I overuse certain words, or how I can make my prose stronger. The best advice anyone will give you, if you want to be a better writer, you need to be a better reader. You need to read a lot of books. There is really no way around it. Like, if you don't enjoy reading books, first of all, why would you want to write them? But yeah. You become so much better if you read a lot of books. I'm under no illusion that I am not going to be the best writer in the world. That is not why I write my stories. I just really want to tell my stories, and I think I love books, and books are the best way for me to do this. I write in English also as a German native, and that comes with its limitations. And you might wonder why I'm writing in English when English is not my first language, but truth be told is I think in English now. I'm married to Frank, who doesn't speak German. We speak English all the time. I live in Australia, and I have lived in English-speaking countries for a very long time now. I don't think I can write books in German anymore. I'm at that weird point where I struggle to remember German words, and at the same time I know I'm still lacking in the English language, but I'm not worried about it. Like I said, I don't claim to be the best writer in the world, but my understanding of language is perfectly fine, and it's good enough for me to get my message across. And I work with Kristen, who's from San Francisco. And so Kristen, as my editor, can also fix things in the editing process. So I'm not too worried about that. I used to be. When I first thought about writing in English, I remember looking up author forums in Germany, and everyone said, no, you have to write in your native language, and it's not a good idea because your English will never be as good as a writer who is born in an English-speaking country. And I think that's true. I think that's definitely true, but I don't think that should stop you. If English is not your first language, I don't think that should worry you too much. Just give it a go. I think it's important to get an editor like I do who is English speaking. But if you want to write your books in English, I think you should. I think you know what's best for you, and I think you need to trust that. You potentially have a strength there that you can play with, and that is, when I write my stories, I always try to include at least one German-speaking character or a German setting. So right now, my story starts, the first book in my trilogy starts in the German Harz Mountains, which is very close to where I grew up. So I have been there countless times, countless weekends on hikes and whatnot. So I know that area very well. And I also know German, obviously. So I always try to use my weakness as a strength, because I can speak with authority about certain settings. I know how to use the German language in ways that English-speaking authors might not be able to. So use it in reverse. It can really be a strength. I'm also allowing myself to be bad. Like sometimes there will be a word that sneaks in and I am convinced that this is an English word and it is not. And then Kristen will call me out on that. Like I'll get these little notes, these little comments in the manuscript where she's like, what's that word? Once I mentioned a jacket potato, and so there's a different spelling, I'm gonna put it on the screen. So this is how you write it, and this is how I wrote it. So she just left me a comment how she's giggling to herself, picturing a jacked potato. I used to be very self-conscious about my English not being good enough. I still am to an extent. You know, that's also what stopped me from speaking into the camera on social media or even starting this YouTube channel, because native speakers would be able to pick up, obviously, on the fact that I am not a native speaker, and would they then buy my books? That was my thinking. Would they then think, oh my God, she can't even string a sentence together when she's speaking, so why would I buy an English book from her? But at some point I realized that that is just holding me back from what I would like to do, and that's actually silly. I am making an effort to try and sound more Australian, for example. I know I'm not there yet. I really see our future here in Australia. This is my home now. I love it here, and you know, I want to grow old here, but it's still, every time I go to a shop here or get fuel or whatever, people always ask me, oh, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from here. So I would love to just nail that Australian accent. So that is on my to-do list, to get better with the Aussie accent.
And there's another thing I'd like to get better at this year.
Lately I've been watching a lot of YouTube channels, and I'm so inspired by all the other, I watch mainly like author vlogs and artist vlogs, and I'm so inspired by all these people out there going after their dreams and going after their art and really putting themselves out there. Today I watched a channel and I realized how free she was in her pursuit of her art. She was just figuring things out. She was just playing. She was just trying out what works and what doesn't, and she was so unafraid to put herself out there, even if she's a total beginner and she doesn't know what she's doing yet. She's learning, and she's not afraid to show you that she's learning. And that really struck a chord with me, because I have become a lot more serious when it comes to my art And you know by now that my favorite quote is by Helena Bonham Carter about everything in life being art. So when I say my art, I really mean my life. Also because of, oh, I really like this sound. Because of social media, everything has become so curated, and that's because you also to an extent need to be careful what you put out there. And I think there's something I would love to unlearn this year. I don't want to be careful anymore. I don't want to censor myself anymore, and I don't want to be so afraid to show the world who I really am. I never used to be. I guess that's also the problem when you turn your art into your job. I love writing, I love telling stories, I love making books for a living. I think it's like such a joy. And I love to self-publish my books as well. But of course there is the pressure of having to make money with it. And I think that is why I played guitar today, because no one expects anything of me when it comes to the guitar. It's just me, and it doesn't matter if the guitar's out of tune or if I don't hit a note or if I make a mistake. See, I do not have that perfectionism when I play guitar. I just play and it's lovely and it's fun. And while I said earlier, I don't think I'm the best writer in the world, and I never will be, there is, of course, because it is your profession and people are paying you money to read this thing that you're making, there is, of course, more pressure on that. And so I want to bring back the play this year, and I want to look at everything in my life as art and as an adventure and as beauty. I tried out so many different things when I was in my 20s just to see what my art was. I just knew I wanted to tell stories, and there was so much fun in trying out everything. I tried painting and drawing and photography and filming and, you know, writing obviously. And I was bad at a lot of those things. I was really, really bad. I tried acting and everything. But it was fun. I mean, it was also torture and torment and drama, obviously. When you're 20, everything is very, very dramatic. But it was so much fun to just try out things. And I think there's no reason why we can't still do that today. There's a huge need for the middle-aged and older artist. The older we get, the better stories we have to tell, and there's so much wisdom brewing, and a lot of the times art focuses on the young artist. It's especially true for acting and music, of course. But writing, the beauty about writing, as Elizabeth Gilbert said this once, the beauty about writing is that you can start at any age and you actually just get better.
Writing is not like dancing or modeling. It's not something where if you missed it by age 19, you're finished. It's never too late. Your writing will only get better as you get older and wiser. If you write something beautiful and important, and the right person somehow discovers it, they will clear room for you on the bookshelves of the world, at any age. At least try.
Just said goodnight to Frank. It's just after 10 o'clock. He had a busy week and he's completely knackered, so he's already in bed, but I think I am now ready to tackle one of these bigger revisions. And what I need to do is a bit more of an exploration. So I have one character. She is the most notorious witch who was around during World War II. And my main character, Elva, is a witch who is plagued by memories of this notorious witch. There's another candle just went out. That is one of her ancestors. It's her grandmother. And so her grandmother is pure evil. But I need to, first I'll find my matches now. No villain in a story is just a villain. And if they have become evil, I just said it, they became evil. There's a reason why they became evil. There's a reason why they made the choices they have made. the villain is always the hero of his or her own story. So what I would like to try now is a conversation. I'm gonna treat this just like I treat my morning pages. So my morning pages are usually a conversation between me and the universe. A bit woo-woo, but that's how I'm like, in case you hadn't noticed already. So it's usually questions. The universe will ask me a question, or I ask it questions, and then by the end of it, I am in a conversation with my higher self. I'm gonna try and channel this notorious witch tonight and have a chat with her. Let's see how this goes. It's 11 o'clock. I can't stop yawning. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. But I think that was a good exercise. Now, for me, to be fair, I asked more questions than I got answers, but I think they were very important questions. I want to write a few chapters set during the Second World War. Those chapters might never end up anywhere. No reader might ever read them, but I think it's really important for me that I go back in time. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope this was calming for you, and I hope you enjoyed getting a little sneak peek into my life after dark. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I see you here again very, very soon. Good night.